Hey guys, welcome to 8.2. This is the second lesson in Unit 8, and we are going to be solving by factoring. So yesterday in our first lesson, we reviewed factoring and how to factor, and now we're going to take that a step further, and we're going to solve. And when I say we're going to solve by factoring, I'm looking to find the solutions. Right? Notice that in all three of our examples, I have find the solutions written on there. So I'm looking to find the solutions. Solutions, we've seen that word before. You should know that there are other words that mean solutions. Okay? Roots, x-intercepts, and zeros. That's the same thing. So that is what we are looking for. So to solve by factoring means we're looking to find those roots or zeros solutions or x-intercepts. Okay, so when you're solving, you're going to have your equation set equal to 0 every single time. That is telling you that your y value is 0, aka you want to find what the x values are when y is 0, aka your x-intercepts. So in order to solve by factoring, you want to make sure that your equation is set equal to 0 or that your y value is 0. That is the same thing. So let's look at this first example. It says x squared plus 9x plus 20 equals 0. You might notice that this is the same problem from yesterday. The only difference is now it's set to equal 0. So we're going to factor it the same way. And once we factor it, we can solve. So like we did yesterday, the first thing you want to do is identify your a, b, and c values. You can set up in making your eye chart. And then you're going to look for those factors that equal 9. Factors of 20 that equal 9. So I found that 4 and 5 are factors of 20 that add to 9. So I went ahead and rewrote it. Okay, and again, just like yesterday, you are separating them. We're just truly factoring here. And then you're factoring out the GCF. Okay, and here's where we would be done. We're done factoring, but remember that this entire time, our equation was set equal to 0. This is known as factored form, and what we can do to solve now is to set each set of parentheses equal to 0 and solve for x. This is going to give you your x-intercepts. So I know that x plus 5 can be set to 0, and then x plus 4 needs to be set to equal to 0. Now I'm just going to solve both of those for x, so I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides here, and I get x equals -5. And on the other side, subtracting 4, so x equals -4. That means I have two x-intercepts in this equation with this quadratic function where x equals -5 and x equals -4. So you go through the normal factoring, and then at the end, you just set each of your two factors to 0, and then you solve for x. So much easier than solving for x just from the very beginning. But let's take it a step further and look at a more difficult problem, because it is going to get more difficult when you have an a value that is not 1. Here I've almost completely factored it. I'm just going to finish it for you. Factor out that GCF. And write it as your factor pairs. And remember that it's equal to 0. And if it's equal to 0, I can write them both as equal to 0. And now I'm just solving for x. So this one on the left is a little bit more complicated because now I have to divide. But x is -3/2. And x is also equal to -5. Both of these are answers. Remember, they're just saying this is where the x-intercepts or the zeros or the solutions or the roots are. Now let's try one more problem. So looking here, I'm looking at my factors and I can't find a single factor that is going to get me to -1. That means that this is not factorable. So we're going to look at a way in just a little bit that how we can figure out what the x-intercepts are, if there are any. We're going to find a different way to look at that in the future. For now, we can just say that's not factorable, so we can't find the solutions there. So remember, you're factoring just as normal and you're setting the equations equal to 0. Once you have your factor pairs, you're going to set each of them equal to 0 and solve for x. Let your teacher know if you have any questions.